Hello, my name is Eric and I'm doing another one of my film photography vlogs called One Body, One Lens, One Roll, One Day. I am here at Austin Badger Park, kind of in the wildlife, not to say wildlife, but in the nature area. Over on that side is the bicycle dirt track thing that I shot a couple episodes ago. Today's camera is, it is a very nice warm June morning. It's supposed to get pretty hot this afternoon, so I'm out it's like 7:30 in the morning, 8 o'clock in the morning before it gets too hot. So let's see what I can get. So today's camera, I had bought a collection of these a couple months ago. This is the last and final Canon Rebel KISS camera. So the KISS camera is the Japanese version of the Canon Rebel G in the United States. Basically the same camera. The only difference is this one does have the date back, which is the battery's dead, so I'm not going to do that. And some of the US cameras did have the date back also, but only the Japanese versions, and you can see some Japanese writing, maybe you can't because I'm too far away from the camera, but does have the panorama switch on it. None of the US models had the panorama switch. So if you like to do the panorama stuff, then maybe looking for some of the Japanese style stuff. Today's lens is a Canon 70 to 210 f4 constant, so it's f4 no matter where I'm at the zoom. This is an early version because it is a push-pull zoom, not the typical twist zoom. You're probably talking late 80s, early 90s model. It does have a shift macro on it, so I go to all the way zoom out, flip on the macro switch, and I can do, see if it'll let me tell the ratio. It does not state the ratio. Okay, that's fine. The other thing this lens has is that when you shoot infrared, true infrared film like Kodak HIE, which is hard, but I've got a roll of that. That might come up in a future episode. It does have some infrared indicators where your focus will drift, so it does have those indicators on it. Today's film is a roll of Kodak Max 400. This expired early 2000, like 2002, so it's about 20 years old. I've gotten this as part of a batch that was given to me as a donation to kind of help me out with this project. And I do know this stuff has not been kept well, so I do have to pull it back to stop. So I'm going to be shooting this at ISO 100. Now this camera does have a DX code, so when I put a fresh roll of film in it, it does automatically read the ISO from, I believe, 25 speed, because there was some 25 speed film back then, all the way up to 3200. So I'm going to have to dial on my command dial to the ISO override and dial it back to 100. All right, so I'm going to load this camera up, and with other Canon cameras, this is going to pre-wind on me, so it's going to pull all the film out. And as I shoot, it's going to go back inside the canister, saving anything that I've shot except for maybe the last photo if I accidentally opened up the back or dropped and then popped open. Just don't drop your camera. All right, I'm going to load it up and get some shots. Be right back. All right, so I'm loaded up and it pre-wound to 24 and stopped there, so I'm getting 24 shots. The battery indicator is low but not weak, so I've got like 1 bar. That should get me through this roll of film, but if it dies in the middle, it dies in the middle because I did not bring a spare battery. So if it dies, then I'll just go home and I'll finish it up at home, maybe around some house stuff. But for now, I'm good, and usually that should be good for a roll or maybe up to 3 rolls if you need to push it. All right, let me get some shots. Be right back. All right, so I'm shooting some shots at 70 and at 210, so you can kind of see the difference between those. This being an older generation zoom lens with a push-pull, it does come with a few, I'm not going to say disadvantages, but comes with a few differences between the more modern lenses. First of all, this is their old classic electronic focus, their EF lens. And when you push the shutter button down to autofocus, you can actually hear it. It'll kind of does a little swish swish, and maybe you can kind of hear it on the mic. So it's not the quietest lenses. And they had Canon does have a series called Ultrasonics, which were quieter. So that was kind of your difference between the baseline and the ultrasonic lenses. The ultrasonic lenses were usually a little faster in the autofocus, a little better motor built in the lens, and a lot more quieter. So if you're shooting near, let's say, some of the video camera or something like that, they didn't want to hear your lens going zzz, zzz, autofocus. The other thing is the push-pull style, which was a lot less expensive for them to make versus the twist zooms. A good example would be Canon's 100 to 400 L series. Gen 1's a push-pull. Optically, she's fine, but she goes from really short to really long and starts becoming a little, a little unstable, especially if you've had too much caffeine or been carrying that thing around for a couple hours. The second version was a twist zoom, so that's the twist zoom's kind of where they're all at right now. There's very few of them that are still push-pull. So this was a less expensive way to manufacture back in the time. Good for baseline lenses, maybe even to the mid-level, but most of the pro-level stuff, with few exceptions, were twist zooms. All right, let me see what else I can get. I'll be right back. Now, when you're out in your own photo excursions and stuff like that, especially in the middle of summer, make sure you stay hydrated. It's starting to warm up a bit, and I got my my drink, some Lipton tea. I've got water down at the car, so as soon as I'm done in this area, I'll start heading back and grab a drink of that too. All right. So I've got 8 shots left. Do a couple shots around here, and then let's see what else I can get. All right, and that's the end of my roll of film. Looks like the batteries did last, which is good. That, maybe it didn't rewind all the way. Batteries might have quit halfway through the rewind, so I'll check it out in the car. Underneath I've got a blanket and make sure it rewound correctly. Either that or I'll wait till I get home just to double check, because actually no, that should be good because it's pre-wound. All right, never mind, I'm totally wrong. All right, so it looks like the camera rewound, and it was really quick just because of the fact that it was winding everything back inside that canister to begin with, so no big deal there. Open it up, there's my roll of film. And again, this is Austin Badger Nature Center in Montville Township, south of Medina, not too far. Today's camera was a Canon Rebel Kiss camera, again, the Japanese version of the Canon Rebel G in the US. Does have the date back, no battery in mind, and the panorama switch, which was not available inside the United States. Silly things that I know after working in the field for so long. All right, today's lens was a classic 70 to 210, so longer range. Most of the stuff I've been doing recently has been the short range stuff, so I went long this time. I've got another long lens for a Pentax. I might throw it on my Super program or see if I can find a different body. All right, thanks for watching. If you like the photos, which will be posted at the end, feel free to give a thumbs up. Feel free to subscribe. New episodes about every Friday and Saturday, noonish Eastern time, I think, or whatever YouTube. I just said high noon. And then feel free to comment if you like the camera, like the lens, like the park. It is a hike to get up to this area. I did go around the lower area first, but up to this area, it's a little bit of a hike to get up here. So make sure you get your walking shoes on. And today's film was some Kodak Max 400, which was expired, and I know the tendency of this. I did notice, however, though, that when I loaded it, I forgot to override the ISO to 100. I was about 10 shots in, and something wasn't making sense to me because I was saying this should be 100 speed, not, and the settings were just a little off. I looked, I hadn't overridden it, so first 10 shots might be a little underexposed just because of expired stuff. The rest should be good, but hey, that's how you learn. All right, we'll see you next episode. Thanks.